Hey everyone, what's up? I'm kind of seeing the same patterns, the same tendencies, the same broken record. Um, I've intentionally tried to stay away from the sport of boxing. It's nice being a casual fan. I don't have to get riled up. I don't have to play the little stupid, little fanboy games that are associated with boxing. And as well, boxing has become a TMZ sport. People report more on drama than they do on actual fights, and this can lead people to a lot of confusion. This can lead people to a lot of erroneous views, and this can lead a lot of people to being blinded. And I do want to state that this is, for the most part, a fair warning video. A lot of you don't know my channel. You really don't. You see the crazy stuff I post and whatever else. You don't understand when it comes to boxing. I can't even describe it, but I've come across you guys multiple times. You're all the same. It doesn't matter what race or color you are. What is your favorite fighter? I do this to people all the time. And again, this is just a fair warning. Some of you, when you start worshiping these fighters, you see things that aren't really there. The Canelo fans, they just were the recent group of people that finally understood what the truth was. You understand, and people like me were simply just telling people the truth. I literally just beat a dead horse when I cover these type of topics. You understand? The TV hypes people up, okay? And there's a lot of production behind the scenes that a lot of people aren't wary of. One of those tactics that are done behind the scenes is called matchmaking. These guys, their handlers are fully aware of what their strengths and weaknesses are. They're fully aware of what, product they're trying to build up. You understand, at the end of the day. This was with the Canelo, this is with the Tank Davis, and this is with a guy like Boots Ennis, for example. You have around 40 fights already, and what have you done in your career? You just beat a 23-year-old who hurt you and everything else. I've been telling people the matchmaking is what tells you how the handlers truly feel about their fighters. You understand? Boots has already been in a lot of fights where guys are at the most opportunistic moment to fight them, things like that. We've seen this throughout guys like Tank and Gervonta Tank Davis, or Tank's career, and guys like Canelo's career. You understand? For an example, I'll make this easy for you. When you look at Shane Mosley's record, you'll see that he had 3 losses in a row. And I'm doing this from the gut. Just check this, fact check this yourself. He was coming off a draw, and this is when Canelo decided to fight him. But the name Shane Mosley looks good on his resume. You understand? Stanionis, for example, on Boots, the dude was on almost a 3-year layoff like Errol Spence. You understand? And he was still allowed to retain his belt, or it was for a vacant belt. I'm at the point now where I'm forgetting all the facts and details that are surrounding these situations. People are starting to get drunk again. And, again, I just want to come out with this video and let you guys know that this is a very fair warning video. I've also recently seen that Crawford is back in the gym. He had a bad day of sparring, but he was coming off the street. And he admitted that he lost, and it only motivated him to get back, and make sure that that's not going to be the issue next time, that occurs. Crawford is basically 38 at this point, but unlike Crawford, like a lot of these fighters, just like Spence that you saw last night, guys like Keith Thurman, Crawford falls into the echelon of fighters such as Floyd Mayweather and Bernard Hopkins. He's a guy who takes care of himself. He doesn't drink, he doesn't smoke, and all that stuff. And this is why he can do what he does at, even at 37 and 38 years old. You see even a Spence and guys like Keith Thurman, they look like shot fighters for the most part. I'm also seeing that people are now once again falling into this trap because, again, I see what's going on. I see what they're trying to set up at the end of the day. They've been trying to bait Crawford out of retirement. Even guys like Canelo, although Canelo did not have a rematch clause, he's still trying to use Terrence Crawford in a lot of his interviews, things like that. The whole boxing world is trying to bait Crawford back out of retirement. They want to see him lose. And we've talked about this a lot of times on this channel, the fervor that comes along. You see, oftentimes enough, it's not even race that's the most offensive thing. I've always preached this on this channel. The most offensive thing to most people, and it does not matter the race, creed, or color of what you are, what you identify with, or whatever else, It's when you're the truth. You understand? That's when you're a problem. And this is something that a lot of people, they just go into a fervor and they fall into the bait and trap of. They like to rile you up and emotionally manipulate you. And I get it from a lot of your guys' perspective, but you need to understand this. Do you understand? I've been brutally honest on this channel. You're looking at Boots through the eyes of a mother who loves her child, who can do no wrong, regardless if that child is a serial killer, regardless if that child is a criminal. That woman will be biased towards that child no matter what. You understand? And I have to use this analogy as well. When you guys go to the club or the bar and you're drunk and you see what would normally you see as a 6 or 7, in your mind, you think it's a 10, and you're here, manipulating your own mind to believe that, oh, this venture is definitely worth it. You understand? Like, you're not going to have regrets when you've sobered up and you wake up the next day. You know what I'm saying? And this is how a lot of you guys fall into this same bait and trap. For the most part, when I do cover boxing, I've warned you guys plenty of times, Boots is not who, the TV and everybody's telling you that he is. I told the Canelo fans this. I told the Spence fans this. When are you guys going to learn when to quit? Boots will get knocked out if he fights Terrence Crawford. Boots' style is very easy to break down. And per usual, if this fight does come into fruition, you understand if this is the direction the boxing world is trying to, drunkenly cause to a lot of drunks, who aren't thinking straight. Your guy's not that nice. He's really not, And I tried to hold back for as long as I can. I get baited here and there to talk about it, but, I've tried to hold back. But this is, once again, just a friendly reminder and fair warning. He's not who you guys think he is, man. If it comes to fruition, of course, I will cover the fight, you understand? But your dude is not ready for a guy who, like him, has the ability to time, seize openings, and things like that. But Crawford does it in a far more intelligent way. Another overlooked aspect that people never pay attention to when it comes to a Terrence Crawford fight are the feet. Crawford's feet are immaculate. It's the fundamentals, you understand? He knows where to place his foot, positioning, everything else like that. That's the part that people really don't pay attention to. You pay attention to the switch hitting when he turns southpaw, whatever else. You pay attention to all the normal stuff that, people blindly go with and, that others parrot. But you don't look at the other little intricate details when it comes to this. Your dude does not have feet. He has nowhere near the educated feet as a Terrence Bud Crawford. Crawford would box circles around him before he knocks out Drawn in his boots. I'm just going to tell you guys the secret right now. Boots, he's a precognition fighter, meaning, it's a form of interception, but it's a one-trick form of interception. You understand? Bud can move and make people walk into traps, like, for example, when he knocked down Sean Porter, when he backed away and made Sean Porter run right into that left uppercut, that sent him on in Kevin's the first time. Bud has so much, when you're comparing him to even a guy like Boot, who has a lot of good athleticism, he just has more subtle things that you can't really measure. You understand? His instincts, everything else. Boots does not have that, guys. He really doesn't. Another thing about Boots is you catch him once, he likes to save face, and he'll still sit there, remain open. Again, if he's been fighting higher caliber opponents that can seize those type of opportunities, even when you go and watch the George Sosa fight, if that were Terrence Crawford or anyone, of higher caliber, Boots would have already had a knockout loss on his career. That dude was slumped over on the ropes. Go watch it. You understand? All the stuff that you guys say about Terrence Bud Crawford, it actually applies more to Drawn in his boots. And I've been saying this and beating this dead horse for a while. You guys are barking up a tree you don't want to mess with. You understand? And on this channel, you're going to find out, if I do decide to cover it, I'm going to do you just like everybody else. You know what I'm saying? When I tell you I'm going to carve you up, I'm going to carve you up. Even though Boots is far younger and you guys are once again falling into the same trap as all the other people who has, Crawford fought, his resume, is overrated. And when he comes out here and he does again, what you guys, it's a rerun, guys. It's a broken record. You understand? It literally is a dead horse. And now you want to see it done to a young boy, who's maybe right now, he's Boots himself is being pretty sober about the situation. He's saying the right things. He's saying that Crawford is retired, this and that. Even Crawford said that it's his era. But I mean, you don't want a situation where the truth really has to meet the new hype job, which is all this situation is at the end of the day. I see some of you, you're motivating yourself and hyping yourselves up, pumping yourselves up. You're jumping to the next, in thing, the new trend in the sport of boxing that's trying to, fool you for the most part. As I even talked about, guys, when it's Tang, I told people he's going to, get exposed by cherry picked gone wrong. And literally his next fight, that's what happened. You understand, it's matchmaking, guys. It's smoke and mirrors for the most part. It's marketing. It's things like that. They tell you that this guy is the greatest thing since sliced bread. They tell you he's the next Ali, when it came to guys like Lomachenko, whoever else, you understand. They're going to say anything to get you guys to believe in what they want and in the direction that they want you guys to really, expand their brand and make it more profitable and make money and things like that. You guys are still falling for tricks. You understand? And tricks are for kids. This channel is not for kids. It never was and it never will be. And you're barking up the wrong tree here. I'm trying to tell you, these people, they talk the most cash stuff when they come in my comment section. They do all these save face tactics. And I promise you, every time, whenever it's all said and done, they never come back to this channel. And you're going to experience that yourself if you fall into this trap. It's just a fair warning. It's not me trying to be cocky or arrogant. It's just me telling you the cold hard truth at the end of the day. You understand? For the most part, boxing, again, it's a very watered down sport, especially from the times when I grew up watching it. These guys don't even have to be a Roy Jones anymore, caliber type phenom, Boots, he's very good. He's gifted, okay? But his whole fight game is based off precognition. Trying to get there first when he sees what his opponent's trying to do and try to get there faster and beat him to the punch, those type of things, while his feet are set. He doesn't know how to set up traps, guys. He really doesn't. He likes to lull people into a false sense of confidence, and you are your most vulnerable when you attack. Boots has mastered that, but he's only shown this against a certain caliber level of opponent, and it's all been careful, selective matchmaking. Again, you're at 40 fights, and you guys are already sitting here falling for the trap and talking about Terrence Crawford's resume. You understand? You need to really look at these things. I know a lot of people don't analyze and they don't look into the details. The devil is always in the details. I've always said this on this channel, guys. You guys aren't paying attention to the details. You're paying attention, it's one of those things where it's more style than substance. You're looking at the flashiness. You're looking at all the stuff that's screaming for your attention, saying, look at me, but you're not paying attention to what they're trying to distract you from. And again, I've been trying to hold back. I see no reason for me to try to get back into the boxing game. I really don't. I may comment on a fight here or there or whatever, but as you guys see, even from my own thing, you see what type of content I'm coming out with. And I'm telling you, I make special occasions, and Boots, he's just another Spence at the end of the day. He's just another, the next hype job that they're trying to hype up. And these guys, all of them, they're using Terrence Crawford to really promote their fights and everything else. Even Canelo, he's saying in interviews that he wanted the rematch. You didn't have a rematch clause in the contract. You understand? You thought, once again, it would be a pretty easy cherry pick. You've been ducking guys like Benavidez. You're saying that Benavidez isn't a real Mexican, and, he's from Arizona. And you understand. You understand what these guys are doing, And I'm trying to tell you, Boots done already ducked Crawford. They could have had that fight. He decided to go the PR route, lie, and try to boldly lie at that. but save face. And you know what I'm saying? Even to the point where he has no, you know, he's one of those guys that doesn't care if you lie straight to your face. But, you know, that tells me a lot about the guy. You know, that lets me know that you're definitely full on board with this fake it till you make it type route that you've been on. You got a little bit of confidence now because you beat a 23-year-old kid who was undefeated. You know, my prediction was very accurate. I told you guys your smart money's on Boots, you know, but, you know, I also told you what the TV doesn't want to tell you is they know Boots doesn't have a chin, guys. And this was known early on in his career. You can see this in fights such as George Sosa, but I've seen it in even his more recent fights. I could show you this stuff on film because I know you guys don't pay attention to detail. So I am going to end this video here. This is a fair warning. If you guys don't forget who the real boogeyman is, that's all I really got to say. You say his name 5 times, he will appear. You understand? And you will come to the truth and the reality of the situation. It's not on Twitter, you know, or in the comment section on YouTube or talking to Gilly. Once you are face to face with Crawford, you know, these guys, they oftentimes they realize what time it is. And a lot of you, same thing for you if you want to, you know, embark on that venture. You know, in this channel, I always like to do this to people like you. So you're feeling bold and confident now, but you ain't gonna be feeling that way, especially on the lead up to the fight. I promise you that. Like I told you guys before, I'll carve you up just like I've done everybody else. That's just the honest truth, all right? I'll talk to you later. Bye.